Great. 𝘭𝘪𝘢𝘵𝑚𝑎𝑠u. Okie doke. We'll go straight into it. So just find a shoulder width extend with the elbows. Yes, nice and gentle to start. Oh, nice and easy with it. About a minute or so, just rotating here. Let the back heel be flexible, mobile. And if you're comfortable, just take it a little bit further. I'm going to send a little bit of extension out with the arm. Same rotation work. Great, we'll switch it, going, reaching up over to the side, and coming back. Again, just take it nice and easy to start. When you get into it, make it a little bit more dynamic. Oh, we're going to go a little bit further. Good, great. And then just work with the same kind of idea with two fists with it. So you're also extending out with the lower hand. In this case, again, think about reaching up and over, extending up. You want the fist to go right over the top of the head. Right over the top. Try and avoid going to the side in this case. So right over the top. Lengthening also the bottom hand. Reach out, come back. Reach out, come back. Good, we just go a little bit to the leg so you can have the feet together. Again, just start nice and gentle with it. Keep the feet parallel in this case. The lead leg, the ankle leg stays straight. The leg that you're stepping out with, go into a bent position with the knee. And also start to play with the arms into the position so you can reach the hands out. Involve the arms in the same, in the movement. And again, once you get into it, you can make it a little bit more dynamic. Press up into it, press into it. Good, and we'll just change that for a little bit of like a box squat, so keep the feet forward. Again, reaching the hands out, settle down into it. Trying to keep the spine long. And just take a first few nice and slow. Nice even pressure in and out. About the knees spreading out as you go down. Perfect, good. And then we're into a cross lunge, so you go and take in the leg to the back. Just be careful of this knee. As you go down into it, take it nice and slow again, the first few. In this case, just play the kind of cross arm position. So this arm the opposite hand is just going to kind of spiral across the body this way, and you can also do the same with the opposite hand. The kind of closing position of the arms across the body, deep down, just floating the knee off the ground. Nice for coordination across the limbs as well. Good. And then taking the legs out as wide as you can, comfortably. And just think in this case of walking the hands forward, placing weight into the hands, weight out of the feet, and then bringing them back, and then just standing up with it. So 2 positions, standing up, walking out, wide plank with the legs, and then walking the hands back into the feet, standing back up. So hinging the hips down, walking out, and then back, just let the hips naturally find the center line of the feet. Walking out, coming back, walking out, walking back. Probably about 4 steps out, 4 steps out with the hands. Good. And then with the feet in the ground here, just think about reaching across. So don't worry about touching the foot. Just think about opening up the hip, keeping the spine nice and long. You can use the opposite hand just to kind of fix onto the hip and feel that the hip is also really active in the movement. So not so much about reaching down. It's creating length through the structure of the hip and the leg. So the hips are very mobile. This one. And then just to bring the back hand into it, plug the hands into the center of the movement, and then think about raising up through it, reaching up to the top of the sun, and then coming down. So raising up. There's 2 ways you can do the movement. You can swing the arm out and up, and swing it back, or you can raise it through the center. A little bit easier to raise through the center and back. It's a nice one just to open up the shoulder mobility, but just be careful you don't put any strain really on the lower back. So again, the hips are very mobile, the thoracic upper spine is very mobile, the shoulders very mobile. You want the lumbar spine, the lower spine, to be very stable. Not taking any of the strain, as little strain as possible. Great. Perfect. Great, just fix the hands back into the ground. Walk the feet as wide as you can, legs as wide as you can. Take as much of the bend out of the leg as you can. And again, just walking the feet back, walking the hands forward. Think about really lengthening through the hands and the hips up. Now think about pulling the hips back as you kind of claw into the ground with a very active hand. Think about the shoulders really lengthening, whole spine lengthening, head starts to fit between the shoulders, the arms. Draw the hips back as far as you can. Take a couple of deep breaths. Bring the hands level with the chest. Find a little bit more bend in the legs, so just bring the legs a little bit closer, a bit more comfortable. And then all I want you to do is just press into the shin bone. Find a nice long spine, so a nice lengthened spine, the arms are straight. And then from there, feel the pressure in the feet. Press into the feet and start to draw the hands up, just to the level with the knees. Just take the body all the way up to standing. Bring the legs back together. Cheek out the legs a little bit. Just do a little bit for the shoulders, so just opening across the front. Nice and soft, give yourself a little bit of a shoulder tap as you come across the front. And then go to a little bit of rotation. Again, just a gentle tap to the shoulder at the front. And see if you can also loosen the arm out to the back as well. Nice and Soften the lower body, especially the knees. Yeah, just keep going a little bit. Just going to watch a little bit. Okay, good. Last one, just to kind of test the arms to relax. So think about this, you just sort of raise the arms up, as if you've got them rested on a high table, 2 high tables, and then just think about releasing the structure. Now, I don't want to do anything, so the important thing with this is the release, but also how I'm holding the structure of the arm here. So there's 2 things I can do wrong with this exercise. Well, there's a lot of things I can do wrong with this exercise. One is to do this and basically hold the arms up like this. And the second is to force the arms down to do something like this. So I want to do neither of those. I want to just lift the structure of the arms up, feel it really kind of sitting into the body. And then just if you just kind of release, you just release them. So the feedback on the exercise is actually, if I hold this position, let's say for 30 seconds, a minute, will I really feel it? Okay, so will I really feel it? And if I go like this kind of position, you will really feel it. You feel the whole structure of the arm kind of burning. So try and find a feel in the body where you settle into it. And then the second feedback on this exercise is as you lower the arms, does the shoulder stay free? Okay, so the main thing to look for in the down part is the shoulders kind of stuck and the arms kind of stiff. Okay, so I want the feedback in this one to be like a very soft body. Just play a couple with it, don't do too many of these, but because you've got a kind of quite a heavy arm movement coming down. Just feel the kind of structures of the arm and feel the shoulder kind of soften, elbows soften, and soften. And in terms of feeling wise, what you're looking for is to be right underneath the joint. So the feeling of the body, the sensation of it's like really collected underneath the body. As if there's kind of water dripping off it, dripping off the elbows, dripping off the hands, dripping off the fingers. And then you follow that pattern down. That's it. There we go. That's it. And then we'll just go to a little bit more of an elastic one. So it's that same movement. You're not finding the shoulder now, you're just coming across the front and just let the weight sink. So the main thing now with this one, you've got that heaviness in the body from this one. Try and maintain that feeling all the time. So you've got a really low sense of the body, really kind of gluing into the ground. And as you're doing it, just check in with the feet. So in this case, I'm a little bit more weighted to my right side and I've got like this kind of lean. So what I'm going to look for is really just bouncing across the structure and not doing anything. You all have a dominant side, like we just have a dominant leg. So the problem for a lot of us is because we've got a dominant side, it tends to take a lot more of the structure, even when I think I'm in a balanced position. So as you're doing this exercise, and as you're doing it very simple, and just listen to the feet. So just feel where the weight is in the feet. The first one is just feel whether I'm more loaded onto the right or more loaded onto the left. And if I feel it's kind of even, that's what I want to kind of go towards. So it's just a question of rebalancing the sensation of the body. And sometimes it's best to obviously look at yourself on the screen. Sometimes best to just feel it, just physically go to like, what does it feel like in terms of the foot? And it's not just about the foot, but the whole structure of the leg as well. So you can think like butt down basically on one side of the leg. And just feel that the weight's kind of loaded. Good. And then same exercise, keep that movement going, or keep that sensation going with the body, and just start to raise and lower the arms. So raise and lower. So again, you've got a flexible motion of the body, and especially with this one, try and keep the weight down. Okay, so I want to keep the weight down all the time, especially as I raise the arms up. I don't want the center to start to kind of pull up and away. So think about raising from down, maintaining all the weight down as you do it. And again, just check in with the feet, feel where the balance is loading. And it's basically just a question of kind of am I balanced in the structure? Am I balanced across the sides of the body? Also front and back, in this exercise especially. Very easy to do this front loaded, or also kind of back kind of loaded into it, not really committing into it. So just that kind of active balance in the position. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Grab a Joe. So we'll just look at some, again, similar exercises. What we were looking at sometime this week, can't remember. We'll go into a figure of eight pattern. So if you just think about, again, shoulder width with the feet, or actually hip width with the feet. Hip width is better in this case. And just think about one hand on the Joe. Now, just again, go to this. So you've got a loaded weight in the hand, obviously in the side. And again, it's more than likely now that you start to weight towards one side of the body. So just again, go to that feeling. If you feel it happening, just let it happen. And then just notice it and just see if you can start to again, just rebalance the structure a little bit. And a little bit more load into the right side. So I want to just start to shift a little bit more into the center. And it might mean making one leg a bit more active in terms of concentrating on it, but it also might mean releasing the structure of the dominant leg. So it's always a question of balance. Is like, do I want to stop doing something here, or do I want to do more on one side? And that's always a question of like, however much I need to do, I'm playing with it basically. But sometimes it's about doing less. Usually it's about doing less to rebalance the structure. So it's generally stopping doing something on the side that's kind of dominating and stop letting it pull the body out. So let's play with that. One position that's nice for this one is if you take the opposite hand and you just place it onto like the sternum, so right on the top of the chest, and just feel that you can use that as a kind of guide for the body. Again, the main thing that tends to happen in this exercise is something like this, where the upper body starts to kind of wobble with it. So think about it, as you do it, just kind of rolling through it. Now it does roll, but it doesn't really bob as you do it. So there's flexibility in the upper body, in the spine, and of course in the shoulder. But I don't want it to start to take the body kind of into a kind of wobble, weeble wobble. So. And then just try feeling the other side again. And again, notice when you shift to the other side, the body starts to go. Just try and find the balance there. And again, just go slowly into it. Feel. It's just looking for balance across the system when you've got a really asymmetrical movement passing through the structure. And again, you can play with this hand position, is a nice one to go to. You can also play on the center with this hand. The other places also feel the shoulder. It's just anything where the other hand's just going to stay out of the way. And also just aid a little bit in terms of what is happening in terms of structure. And again, noticing key things like where the weight's loaded, is it being distributed evenly across the structure of the legs? Am I loading more one side or the other? Very simple stuff, but really important to get it very sensitive to it. So, and we'll just do one last one. It goes on both sides. In this case, you go over the shoulder and you're working off center with this one. And again, think about a very asymmetrical movement. The problem with it is going to start to kind of pull the body out of structure again. So think about, again, balancing into the feet. Let the shoulder really mobilize to the back. And I want to really avoid, in this case, something like a twisting motion through the spine. So something like this happening, which is like a crunching motion. And then the spine goes into a lot of tension in this kind of position. So think about freeing the spine in the movement, which actually means really engaging the core of the body so that the spine is kind of safe and secure and that it's not going to be kind of pulled out by that movement. So just experiment in this case, because you've got, again, this very asymmetrical movement. I need the shoulders to be really operating freely from a very strong core torso. So. Good. And you need a bit of movement for this. You've got to be very careful of baubles in the space, but you just have one more movement to it, which is you come across. here, and then you come up to the top and then wrap the jaw around the body. Okay, be very careful of this. This is a bit of a shorter movement than I would normally do. What I would normally do is like really open this movement out and then really swing it down. But it's a bit restricted in terms of spaces. So what I'm going to do is just lightly open and then lightly curl to the body. But what I'm looking for now is as you open it up, curl into the structure here. Let's go into this position and then open it back out. Find the shoulder, open up, coil in, open it back. But it's a bit tricky if you've not got a lot of space around it. But it's just a nice one to follow through. A little bit up and then a little bit across the body here. Ooh, that's in the way. Once. Back to shoulder. That's over to the shoulder. Good. Second, good. Good. We'll do one last one. It's just a nice one for the wrist. You take the Joe a lot higher in this case. Take the same leg forward as the hand. So in this case, I'm going to work in the hand move. The Joe's in this position. Do the first few quite slow with this. What I'm looking for is an extended arm, and I'm just going to allow the Joe to pass over the front, and I'm just going to look for that kind of figure of eight pattern. Do the first few quite slow, again, just to check in the position. If you feel the Joe's very heavy, it feels, especially on the back swing, very, very heavy on the wrist. Take it a little bit higher up. Just be mindful of the Joe passing back across the face as you do it. So if you take a bit higher up or a bit more towards the middle, the tendency is that the Joe comes across and smack in the face. So it's a double-edged sword. It becomes easier, but there's a risk that it comes across the head. So ideally you want it in a position where it's not really at risk of cutting back across to the face. But again, the further out I am with the grip, the harder this exercise gets. And I also get problems with kind of hitting the floor with it. So just play with it, it's just going one way. Yeah, and again, it's just a nice one to start to work the wrist and get used to using Joe off center. But again, it's one that's going to really target the shoulders, target the forearms and the grip. So. Good. And then just switch sides every so often. So again, you want the same foot, hand forward. And again, just find a position on the Joe that's comfortable. Arms quite extended from the body, but not locked out. So in this case, extended. I try and keep the grip as strong as I can through the exercise. It needs to open a little bit as you come across. But if I work on this, I can get the wrist much more mobile to be able to work through that range of motion. The main thing that the elbow is just happy with the movement. So I don't want to feel that the elbow gets kind of twisted and pulled out, which is also going to kind of pull the shoulder. So I just want the elbow to be happy working in that range with a strong grip. So, got it. Good. Perfect. Good. Great. And we'll go into some Hasa work later. We'll just go into some ski work to start. So just find a nice basic ski komai left side and just a nice basic thrust coming into it. So legs have to settle each time. Pull back into komai, find the position and into the ski. So just a nice clean form. Nice and basic. Good. And then just if you're on the right side, same thing, right leg forward. Again, give yourself time in the ski. At the end, pull back into 𝗏𝗡𝗏. Bridge into the ski. Pull back, nice, big, clear movement. Okay, good. We'll look at a little bit of Zengo, ski. In this case, take your time with it, so don't rush into it. Find a ski here, and then think about going into the rotation. Now you really use the rotation to come into the 𝗏𝗏𝗏. Find the next ski, take your time, full rotation in, really feel you're in the ground, and then use it to express the ski out. So take your time, big clear rotation work, find the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 into the ski. Big clear rotation, find the ski. So don't think about kind of going ski to ski. Think about going ski, rotation into 𝗏𝗏𝗏, and then into that next ski. So you really give the body a chance to ground, to connect before the next one. That's good. Yeah, so what we tend to do is skip through movements we're not totally happy with. So we go like fast through movements that we don't really like. So it goes like to like, whoosh! If I get it over fast, it's going to be quicker. I just don't get over it. So think about this. Go really slow with the rotation, because for one thing, it's just a very interesting movement. But think about as you go into it, the whole setup to allow the body to find the rotation. So really take it slow and feel that the body's really set up. And it's happy to go into that rotation here. So again, the main problem with all the rotation work is that I skip out of the ground to kind of do it. So really take it slow in this case and feel that you're going to really use the lower body really in a way where you're going to screw the feeling into the ground and then really use it to find it. So we'll look at a few details of this, but the first thing with this, just take the rotation a little bit extra slow in this case. Just really feel what needs to kind of recruit in the body, particularly in the lower body, to make that rotation, again, balanced. That's really the aim. So. Okay, good. And we'll just do a very simple exercise for this. There's one problem with the ski, which is a major problem. If I go into another movement, it's not so much a problem if I just make the ski, but the problem is this: if I brace the outside of the leg in this position, which is this is difficult to show, but it's feeling like I'm going to this area and I'm like pressing the body out. So something like this. Now, especially if I'm to go into rotation work and I'm in this area, it's impossible to go into the rotation now because the body's basically stuck. It's jammed in this position. So the only option is to basically release it and then go into the rotation. And as I release it, the structure releases, the brace releases, and then the body's kind of unstable. So it's like you try to pull the elastic band very tight, and then you release it, all of a sudden the body goes like this. So Very simple exercise with this. You're just going to play with this. Find like a neutral standing position. I'll do it on my mat so it's a bit clearer. Now, just play with this, bracing the outside of the leg, which means like, yes, and it means like I'm kind of pulling out the here, and I'm like pressing into the hip as well. So the pelvis at the back kind of going tight, the glutes going tight, and I'm like squeezing out the legs this way. Right? So you feel also the outside of the foot starts to go, the foot starts to roll out, and it starts in this position. And then play with a kind of rotation from that movement. Okay, so I go into that position, and then I play with trying to rotate the body this way. Yeah, unless I seriously release the structure in the leg, I can go into the rotation. But otherwise, I'm kind of jammed, right? Yeah. Or you twist the upper body. That's the other one. So I go into the rotation, someone, and I go like, and I get all this twist in the structure, and it feels horrible. Right? Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Now do the opposite. This is not really a brace, but feel the inside of the structure. So particularly, I'm looking at the inner thigh, and particularly I'm looking at like spreading into the inside of the foot. So 2 points of focus in this case, which will work this. Think about the inner thigh, and think about pressing deeply the big toe side of the foot. So I'm not looking to collapse the arch of the foot. So I'm not looking to turn the foot instead. But what I'm looking to is like glue the inner arch down to the ground, and I'm looking to really go into the inner thigh. Now, if you look at rotating from this position, it's actually much easier. It's just a natural position for the body to go that, and then that. So what I can do from that position, even if everything's really even tightly held, very easy to go into rotation mode. So you held it, and then the body just kind of twists. So it's a natural position for the structure of the body to work rotational movements. And then play with like bracing the outside to the outside of the leg, and try and make the rotation, and then play with going to the inside of the body. It's very easy to make the rotation from there. Yeah. So this is why for us like an instruction like relax more is like useless because just relaxing it's like it's not enough, right? I need to know which parts of the body I need to recruit. So especially in the movement, the demands of the movement, I need to know which parts of the body I'm looking to kind of make contact with. So just go back into rotation work with this. Again, do it slowly, but also check in this case. What I want to do is like falling into the inside of the leg as I find the ski. That's the main aspect of this. I don't want to feel that I'm bracing the outside of the leg and kind of sitting on the outside of the structure. I want to feel that I'm sitting into the structure. And then again, from there, the rotation work is very easy, and I can do it heavily with the structure, with the body down. And then if I brace the structure to the outside, that rotation is very, very difficult to achieve without kind of releasing the whole structure. So just play with it, but feel that when you go into the ski now, you really kind of sit into the inside of the leg. And again, with a little bit more focus on the instep of the foot. It's like looking at the big toe, the line towards the heel. And again, without collapsing the foot and rolling the ankle, getting the sense that you really kind of squeeze that connection down to the ground. Again, it's useful to put a little bit of pressure there. Just add a little bit of pressure. And then later what you can do is naturally just fall into that tension. Use the movement itself to drop you into it. Especially looking at those 2 lines of contact from the foot to the hip. Again, try and use them intelligently to kind of work with rotation with. Again, the key is to find balance across the structure, to rotate with weight. There we go. Yeah, got it. Good. All right. Good. So this really holds true for like most of the movements we do, because there's always some kind of rotational aspect to what we're doing, especially when we go to spiral work. So we'll look at one of the obvious spirals, in this case, the 𝘭𝘪𝘦. So again, think about this pattern, and then you're going to roll into that pattern. Again, there's that same kind of feeling. So go into the inside of the leg, pressing more towards the foot, and then what you want to do is start to lengthen this whole area. So as you go into the rotation and you go into the 𝘭𝘪𝘦, think about going in again with weight. And again, if I brace the outside of the leg, in this case, something like this, and I lock the outside of the structure, this rotation, again, apart from being impossible without releasing everything, it just becomes kind of stuck in the body. So again, just playing with it in this case, working with a simple pattern. You can do this on both sides, but I would stick to one side for a while just to kind of get into a pattern. And again, contrast it with this idea of like bracing to the exterior of the structure of the leg and recruiting the inner structure of the leg, going towards the big toe. And again, just notice what happens, especially when I start to initiate that spiral pattern through the body. And once you're kind of comfortable with it on one side, just play with the other as well. Go to the other side. So the main thing you're looking for in this case is like a compressive structure, but also an elastic structure as a kind of consequence of it. We went to the Christmas nativity scene in the next town, and I always check the feet of sculptures when you. It's a bit of a strange one, but check the feet of sculptures whenever you see like a sculpture of something. And this, I was looking at the camels because they're the three wise men, and all the camels' ankles are like this, like really super big. For lots of reasons, but the main thing is that it's like a solid structure that's kind of sitting down. So if you make the ankles and the feet the actual size of the sculpture goes like the ankle disintegrates and it falls over. So because it doesn't have a kind of elastic structure within it, which is how the body's kind of designed. But anyway, it's a long story, a short story, but think about this as you go into it. What you're doing through that movement is like creating a compression down, but with the aim to kind of open up in a kind of elastic structure in the body. So the main thing that will stop this is if I do something like this and contract the joint. Yeah, so I mistake compression work for like crunching the structure. Yeah, and again, it's going to kind of lock the joint up, and then the knee's not happy. So then all these kind of adjustments happen in the body. So just play with it a little bit, but it's the feeling that when I go into this position and I go into that compression, what I'm looking to do is start to lengthen and find a kind of really flexible quality to the body. So I'm then expressing through the movement a kind of lengthened structure. And then you've got potential in the structure to kind of work with it, rather than a sense that I'm screwing up the structure and then expecting it to find extension at the end. And then it goes like all over the place. So what I'm looking for is like a direct connection to it. So I do that by like lengthening, or I'm thinking about lengthening the structures in the body. And you can think about that globally, like global length through the structure, or you can think about it in the individual parts of the structure, and which will be like looking at the hip to the knee, looking at the knee down to the foot, also across the arms. There's lots of areas to kind of explore with it. They're actually all doing the same thing in terms of the structure. My intention is to create length through compression and release it at the same time. So there's compression, obviously, but there's length going through the joint system, and then I'm trying to express that in the movement itself. Strange idea, but it's really how the body's kind of designed to do, because you're not a kind of a paper mache block. And then same idea, we'll look at the hasso, just modify it depending on your ceiling height. In this case, don't worry too, actually we'll all do it this way, because it's not actually important to go to the full motion in this case. So just think about coming into this pattern and just coming here with a jump. So it's like a low variation of it. I'm just going to finish kind of 45 degrees at the back. But yeah, think about a kind of rolling spiral coming up. So this is one of the biggest spirals we brought in terms of Subaru work. So just play with, just get into the kind of pattern of it, and then we'll look at some kind of details with it. But the first thing in this case is just to roll back up into that top position. Again, very asymmetrical movement. Again, very important about balance again across the structure. Just a broad kind of movement in. We'll look at some details. Okay, so there's lots of there's a lot of variations on this movement. None of them are wrong. There's really like no wrong variations of anything. They all serve their purpose. One of them is to like step the feet together and then do the movement. In terms of looking for like an elastic length through the structure, this isn't such a great variation to work with. So what I want to look at is, in this case, going here and then just rotating the foot into it. So what you're going to look to do is go from here and really go to this. Now I need a free hip and knee structure to kind of work with this. So what I'm going to do first is really align the toes so that they're facing in the right direction. Okay, and then I'm going to roll through it, and then the knees soft in this position, the back knee soft, and then I'm going to just start to press weight into it. And again, what I want to do is start to create length through the joint, and then as I go, I want to shift the weight from the front foot, press it through that foot, and then travel back with it. As you're doing that, you're also doing the handwork, obviously, but just play with first, let the hands kind of do what they're doing in terms of that structure, and just take all the attention, in this case, to that the back leg, the left leg in this case. Can I just rotate the toes, find that orientation? Can I keep the knees soft? Can I create length through the hip? And then can I use it to travel the body, to travel back with the body? It's a very nice variation. It's the simplest one, but it's actually it's a difficult one, because to move the feet together actually makes this movement a lot easier, because the hips have much more freedom, and the feet have more freedom. And when I limit the freedom of the feet, I'm asking the hip to do a lot of work, which is why it's a good variation. Nice. Good. So also, there's different functions with this movement, and sometimes the functions get in the way. So sometimes, like, just doing a beautiful, graceful movement is enough, and it doesn't need to have a function, right? So sometimes function gets in the way, which in this case, something like this. I'm blocking and I'm pressing the jaw, someone's jaw away from me. It's fine, and obviously we do that in terms of the structure, but just now, in this case, think about the arm work going into this, and think about really making the arm work soft. And what I'm looking to do is just to motivate the end of the jaw. Don't worry too much about function in terms of where it should be and what it should be doing. Just think about, in this case, trying to motivate this part of the jaw to the back of the body. Yes, I just want to motivate it in one movement, in one clean movement to the back this way. And again, what I'm looking for in this case is a really kind of spiral movement through the jaw. But just take your attention now, again, with that footwork, with all that concentration going in the hip work, the footwork. Just start to express now the spiral which goes. Really, it's a really beautiful movement if it's allowed to just flow. Okay, good. Now we're going to go to one function, because it's just a nice, well, for me, it's a nice visualization. It's not particularly nice visualization in terms of what you're going to do with it, but the feeling in this is that you take the sharp end of the stick, especially if you've got a nujo, you've got like a flatter end, and you've got a really sharp blade edge of the weapon here. What you're going to do is you basically take it across, and you go across the forehead of the person, and you slice across the top of the forehead. Here, opens up the scalp, and you get a lot of blood. Yeah, person's like, talk about being distracted. You've got the scalp open and the blood dripping down their eyes. Yeah, they're like an open target. So it's not a particularly nice visualization. but it's a really nice one if I think about taking this part of the weapon and really, in a sense, kind of whipping it across the front of the body. So this is a slightly different function than we're sometimes training in terms of the 𝗧𝗪𝗏, in which case a lot of it is like used as a block, pressing the 𝗧 away and coming up to the top. In this case, just use this as a bit of another visualization, but it's the sense that you're really whipping it across the front, and you're looking to basically slice across the front of the scalp, come to the forehead, and open that up. That's it. And sometimes a nasty visualization is very good, very good tool.
I mean, motivating.
Good. So it also takes the focus right to the tip end of the 𝗪 as well. So that sense that you're really then able to feel where that tip is through the space, and also kind of whipping around the back as well. Yes. Nice. Very nice. And then just think about doing this. It's really the same thing, but think about kind of dragging the 𝗪 through the space. So what I want to do is like a thick connection which comes across the body this way. The thing that will stop this is if I have any sense of kind of pushing the 𝗪 away from the body, because the 𝗪 starts to split from the structure, and then I kind of panic the structure of the body. So think about as you go into this, like I set it up, and then there's a feeling like I really drag the 𝗪 across that space. And in this case, that left hand is really going to work with the 𝗪. So it's going to kind of slide right across. As the 𝗪 rotates over, it's going to really slide across into that feeling. So I just want to create like a deep connection to the weapon as you do it. And it's this feeling now that you're dragging the 𝗪 through like a quicksand or something. There's something kind of heavy that pulling the 𝗪 through. And the moment I split from the core, then I'm going to really kind of lose the motion of the 𝗪. Yeah, okay. That's good. Okay, good, like that. And then we're going to do just a simple variation. In this case, I'm going to do something I told you not to do, which is always a bad idea, but it just makes this exercise easy, which is like this. You're going to start in the right side, in this case. You've got one ski. Now you're going to find the 𝗧 from this position, but I'm not going to go back into this position because it's quite an uncomfortable position to go from. It makes much more sense in this case to bring the feet together and then find the 𝗧. And then what you're going to do from here is drag the 𝗪 down, back down, and then rotate it back over. And then you come back to the beginning. Okay, so the whole set looks something like this. One, I bring the feet together, I find that 𝗧, I change the feet, draw the 𝗪 down, and then I bring it back into command. Okay, so if you did this fast, it would be like boom, 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 all the way back. But in terms of the basic pattern, just like one, change into the 𝗧, change, dropping the 𝗪 back down and back into command. Yeah, give it a try. So you've got a ski, you've got a 𝗧 up to the top, and then you've got a draw down, and then a return to command. A really nice pattern, which you can get a grip of all that kind of rotation, spiral work that's happened in the structure. Yeah, and then think about you're in that position. Think about the back end of the weapon, dropping it back in, dropping it back in, and then allowing it to come back. That's it. So you stick him with the front, bam! You hit him with the back end, bam! And then you hit him again with the back end, bam! And then you come back into command, and then you do it again if you need to. Stick him with the pointy end, hit them with the back end twice, and then come back. That's good. Okay, that's good. Good. Okay, good. Now play the last we're doing it nice and slow. So you do the ski. It's the same. Find the ground with it. Again, think about that kind of internally sitting into the ground. Roll into the so roll back across and then find that position. Okay, so use the ski as a kind of guide for the body to stable, and then now roll the whole body through it. Particularly a nice one is the second part of it. So if you get stuck with this, pause at the top and then think about really everything just dragging back down. So if there's one element you can work on, if you get stuck with it, it's just from here, just that sense of whipping the jaw back down across. So if you get stuck with anything, just play with this, that kind of feeling. So it's that feeling of dragging it down and then straight away returning back to a neutral position. Yeah, give it a try. So you can do the whole set fluid, or you can just break it down to little pieces, but especially that ski allows yourself to kind of sit into it again, feel where the structure is, and then use it to kind of mobilize into it. So you're going to kind of slow build up to a fluid pattern. And we'll just finish with, again, a little bit of a balancing exercise, because a lot of that's kind of asymmetrical. So again, just find the feet, find a nice strong position with the feet, really glue them into the ground. And then again, just think about kind of softening the knees a little bit, find a strong grip. Think about the shoulders being flexible. So if you think about the hips, shoulders flexible, knees are soft, feet are gluing into the ground, hands are really strongly in the jaw. And then just think about one motion, which is just a winding motion. Now again, as you do it, just notice some things like this, the kind of tendency to roll the structure, something like that, to bob it. And just see if you can find something which is like from the core of the body. Just kind of going into this way. And then you're going to send that impulse of the core to the shoulder to motivate the hand, and send it to the hip to motivate into the foot, into the ground. So it's like a kind of rowing motion. And I want the core of the body to be stable. Particularly I want the lower spine, in this case, to be strong, not twisting. I want the shoulders to be really able to mobilize, and the hips really able to mobilize with the shoulders as well. And then last, you just play also with the backwards movement of it. So again, if you think about core first, really core integrating into the body to do it. And the main principle that needs to be in place is like a balanced structure. Because if I'm out of balance with a structure, for example, if I'm kind of leaning much more to one side, this kind of movement gets really, really tricky to kind of find. So balance is the first one that really needs to be really felt. And the structure can start to be a little bit more free, and then shoulder, the hip has a chance to kind of really mobilize. And then last one, just to loose everything out, especially the shoulders. Just keep that kind of soft position. Keep the knees soft. Feet are still grounding in. Start to loosen the grip a little bit. Release through the wrists. Release the structure of the shoulder. Bring it up and down a little bit. And then just let it settle into the ground. Okey-doke. Very good. We will stop right there. Yeah. Great. Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Oh. Okie dokie.